What is up, everyone? This is Carla from Honeycrumb, coming to you from the quietest place in my house right now in downtown Seattle. This week we're gonna be making French macarons, and since they are meringue-based cookies, obviously the most important part is gonna be building the structure of your meringue. So there are some very thorough instructions in this tutorial for you about that. Hopefully you will follow along and have success with these and end up with macarons that are nice and full and chewy on the inside and crispy on the outside without any hollow shells. Also, I will be showing you how to create the perfect batter, which means how to do the macaronage. And that is to say how to blend your dry ingredients with your meringue to create the flowing lava that everybody talks about, and also how to test your batter to make sure that it's at the right consistency before you pipe. We hope that you will enjoy this tutorial. If you do, please give us a like, and let's get started. So first of all, add a bowl and a sieve to your scale and then zero it out. Weigh out your almond flour. You need 140 grams of almond flour and just sift that through. Use a spoon or your clean hand just to force through any bits of chunky almond flour that didn't make it through on their own. Then zero out your scale again and weigh out your powdered sugar. You need 125 grams of powdered sugar and just set that aside for now. I'm going to be cracking 3 fresh eggs into my bowl here. And these happen to be large eggs. What matters most is the weight of the egg whites, as you'll see. I'm using a tablespoon measure to remove my egg yolks and keep them intact. You can save those for a different recipe like lemon curd or pastry cream. And I want to end up with 120 grams of egg whites. So if you have to take some away or crack another egg and add in a little more egg white, make sure you have 120 grams. I'm weighing out my granulated sugar and I have 112 grams. And one very important step here is to put some vinegar on a piece of paper towel or kitchen towel and wipe out your bowl and the whip attachment of your hand mixer or the whip attachment of your stand mixer, and make sure there's no traces of grease left. That will be very important to building a strong meringue. I've got a kitchen timer here and I've set it to 5 minutes. You'll see that once 45 seconds have gone by, the mixture is nice and foamy, and I'm adding 1/3 of my granulated sugar. So that's 1/3 of the 112 grams that we just weighed out. I'm going to continue mixing until another 45 seconds have gone by, and then I'm going to add another 1/3 of the sugar. So this is the second addition of sugar, and you'll have 1/3 of the 112 grams left. And continue mixing. I'm on speed 3 here on my mixer. And once another 30 or 40 seconds have gone by, you can add the final measure of your granulated sugar. I'm now gonna turn up my speed just a little bit on my mixer to a 4, as you can see there, and I'm gonna keep going. What's happening here is the sugar is dissolving into the egg whites and the large bubbles are starting to dissipate. As you can see, the mixture is getting a lot more opaque and white, and the bubbles are definitely getting smaller. And with 1 minute left here, you can see the mixture is still pretty soupy, but this is a great time to add your coloring. I'm using powdered food coloring here, which is from France. It's designed for macarons. We love it because it doesn't alter the consistency of the meringue. If you don't have powdered food coloring, you can use gel paste or gel color, and that would be preferential to a liquid color. Once your 5 minutes of initial whipping are up, you'll just want to check your mixture and make sure that it's starting to create ripples, as you can see here. That's a good sign, and you'll now want to crank up your speed. So I've set the timer for 3 more minutes, and I've increased the speed to a 7 on my hand mixer. So this is part of building a really strong, stable, firm meringue that goes all the way up to firm peaks. Your hand may be getting tired if you're using a hand mixer. Once you have 1 minute left, just stop your timer and stop your mixer, and then just check the consistency of your meringue. So these are very soft peaks. You can see they're floppy, and they're falling over as I lift up my whip attachment. So I'm gonna carry on for that last minute at speed 7 and just whip, whip, whip. And once the time is up, you'll wanna check your mixture again, and it should be pretty much at stiff peaks, maybe just a tiny little bit bendy as these are. And so the final step is 1 more minute on the timer and speed 1 on the mixer. So we're dialing it all the way down, and this will ensure that your meringue is very smooth and very stable and very sturdy. So once that minute is up, you'll see here beautifully stiff peaks on the ends of my whip attachments. And of course, if we do the classic test of flipping the bowl upside down, the meringue doesn't move. Next step is to sift your almond flour and powdered sugar again. I'm sifting onto parchment, and I'm leaving behind the last few little granules of almond flour that don't make it through the mesh. I'm going to add between 1/3 and 1/2 of my dry mixture here to my freshly mixed meringue, and I'm just folding the dry ingredients gently into the meringue. At this stage, we're not trying to deflate the air that we've incorporated into the meringue, at least not yet. What I'm aiming for is to see that the batter is homogeneous and that there are no dry, clumpy clusters of almond meal or powdered sugar left. Once that is accomplished, I'm going to add the rest of my dry mixture into the meringue and continue folding gently. And the folding action is to take your spatula through the middle of the mixture and then scrape clockwise all the way around the circumference of the bowl, and then continue doing that until everything is well incorporated. Once your dry ingredients and your meringue are mixed together, the next step is to proceed with what's called the macaronage, which is the process of systematically deflating the batter with the ultimate goal of having the batter flow like a ribbon off the end of the spatula. And to do that, I am turning my bowl clockwise, pressing the batter up against the sides of the bowl. And then in one big anti-clockwise turn, I'm scraping the bowl clean and bringing all the batter back down into the middle of the bowl. That is one cycle, except at this point in the video, I'm already almost done with cycle number 3 because you've already seen me do this a few times as I've been describing it. So I'm scraping the bowl clean, bringing the batter back down to the middle of the bowl, and now we're going to start with cycle 4. Scrape down and begin with cycle 5. Once you're done doing this 5 times, you can lift up the batter on the edge of your spatula and see what happens to it. Here you'll see it's still falling down in a disjointed pattern. It's not cascading down in a ribbon. So I've done 1 more cycle. Here you'll see we're starting to get a little bit more of a consistent ribbon. So I'm going for cycle number 7 here of macaronage. And I'm lifting up the batter, and look at that. We have a beautiful unbroken ribbon of batter that's flowing off the end of my spatula and is visible as a ribbon in the mixture below. So I'm going to stop mixing right there, and you should too. I have a PME 17 round tip fitted to my piping bag here. You can use a Wilton number 12 or any medium-sized round tip. I'm going to transfer my macaron batter into my piping bag and seal it up and get ready to pipe out my macaron shells. I'm using a full sheet size baking tray here, which is flipped upside down so that the lip or the edge of the baking tray doesn't obstruct the flow of air in my oven. That's just something I figured out works well for me based on my oven. And you'll see I've glued the parchment down with just a few dots of macaron batter. And I'm also holding my piping bag completely 90 degrees to the baking sheet as I pipe. I'm not using a template here, but you can certainly Google macaron template and print some out and use them as a guide for yourself. And importantly, I'm lifting up the tray and then dropping it back down onto my counter a few times to level out the macaron batter and pop some of the bigger air bubbles that might be stuck inside the shells. And I'm using a cookie scribe tool here, or you could use a toothpick to pop some of the smaller bubbles. And since these are lavender macarons, I've got some Culinary lavender buds here that I'm just sprinkling onto some of my shells for additional decoration and some extra lavender flavor. And now it is time to bake them. I have my oven already heated to 255 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm going to be putting these shells straight into the oven. I'm not letting them dry or rest on the countertop. As you'll see, I have an oven thermometer to make sure everything matches up. So the freshly piped shells are going into the oven. And critically, as you'll see, the first 2 minutes of baking are just some drying time. So that's my replacement for letting them dry on the counter. I am cracking the oven door. So the oven is not completely shut. I've set a timer for 2 minutes. And at the same time, I'm going to turn the oven up to 270. And when the 2 minutes are up, I'm going to shut the oven door and then let the macarons bake the rest of the way. Now this process of baking takes between 15 and 19 minutes. And that time range is going to be determined by your oven, by how hot it is, and how consistently it puts out heat. My macarons take about 17 minutes to bake. I then let them cool on the tray for at least 20 minutes before trying to peel the shells off. They then peel off pretty cleanly, so if you can't do that with yours, you know next time that you'll need to bake your macarons for another minute or two. As you'll see here, once they're baked, they have beautiful feet. They're very shiny and they're very consistent. They also, of course, need a filling. And in this particular case, I'm going to be filling them with a Lavender Swiss meringue buttercream. I'll put a basic recipe for that in the description box below for you. I'm using the same piping tip that I used to pipe the macaron shells in the first place to pipe in the filling. It's a Wilton number 12 or any medium-sized open round tip. And the rule with macarons is that they actually need to mature before you eat them. So you could eat them right now, but they're not really going to have the perfect bite. There are some macaron stores that will mature their macarons for 3, 4, even 5 days. We've found that the perfect period of maturation is closer to 2 days for us. So we put our macarons in an airtight container and then sit them in the fridge for a couple of days. And then the filling during that time will amalgamate with the shell and create this perfect and delicious bite. They are just the best kind of dessert. They look gorgeous. They taste even better. And anyone who receives them as a gift is always absolutely delighted. If you enjoyed this content, please feel free to give us a like and consider subscribing to our channel. Please check out the description box below for recipes and notes. And please leave us a comment if there is something you would like us to bake or create for you next, and we'll add your request to our list. If you have any questions about this tutorial, please leave a comment as well. I will read all of them and be sure to respond. And we look forward to catching you guys in the next tutorial. Cheers.